Bundys Garage, Bundy here. Today I'm here with my good buddy Dennis, and we're gonna go over some things. This is actually gonna be one long video, and I'm gonna actually splice it up into probably 6 or 7 different videos. So you can actually, if you guys want, you can click in the description below, and there'll be a link to the full-length video if you're watching just one of the mini series of this. We're actually gonna go over a couple different things. Dennis is a mechanic. How long have you been a mechanic for?
About 13 years.
13-year mechanic. He's worked at independent shops. He's worked at dealerships, 2 different types of dealerships, import and domestic. We're gonna go over that. He's also a graduate from UTI, so we're gonna touch on that as well. He's a big Mazda guy, so we're gonna go over Mazdas and common problems that he sees with those. Just to get started, Dennis, tell us a little bit about yourself.
37 years old, decided to go into turning wrenches to take care of my family about 2005. Thought the easiest route would be to go to trade school, so I jumped into UTI, paid the bill.
How much was that?
At the time I went to UTI, it was about 23 grand. Still paying off student loans for that.
It's 2016 right now.
Yeah, went through that. It was an okay experience. I got out of school, was able to get a job pretty quick, working for GM. I worked at a Chevy Buick GMC dealer in Washington State. Ended up getting transferred over to a Kia store that they owned. I wasn't happy there. I quit after about 3 months and went to work for Saturn. Loved working for Saturn.
Sorry for interrupting. Going back to UTI, what you saw in the other video that I interviewed Josh at. What was your feel when you saw that video? Were we on? Were we off? Was it more of like, did you see it as we were trying to slam UTI, or what was your experience going to UTI?
I thought it was a pretty fair video. My experience with UTI was there are 2 different types of people that go to UTI. There are people that have no clue what they want to do. They think cars are cool, so they go, and they don't realize the importance of being there on time 100% of the time, getting perfect grades, how that affects your ability to get a job in the future, and how that affects your opportunities at the school. For me, I was 25 when I started school. I had a different perspective on life. I had a family to provide for, so that was my full-time job.
Okay.
So
what do they look for? Because you made it all the way to the Mercedes program we were talking about.
Yeah, I did. I got it. I started school. I pushed my way through. I got 100% attendance, 4.0 GPA, and that's what the programs look for. They want guys that know, that are committed, that are going to work hard, and that are going to get the grade.
What programs?
When I was there was a BMW, a Mercedes, and a Volkswagen program. They also had a Ford program that you had to pay for. It wasn't sponsored like the others. But
the other ones were free?
They are sponsored by the dealership, so you had to sign a contract with them, with the manufacturer, to be employed by a dealership that would take on part of the cost after you got a job at a dealership. So
how long was that agreement for?
It varied by manufacturer. I think the Mercedes program, when I was in it, it was a year commitment to the dealership that signed you up, but it was all dependent on the dealership. I heard people signing contracts for 2 years to work for the dealership because they take on a heavy expense. They pay half of the cost.
Yeah, they're training you. They're training you for working at the dealership.
Yeah, so it's definitely a good opportunity if you want to get into a dealership and fast track all your certifications. You can
get ASCs.
Yeah, no, your ASCs you're on your own for, but the actual manufacturer certifications, which in a regular dealership job, it'd take you years to get a master certification, say for like Mercedes, 5 to 7 years at a minimum to get a master certification, where if you were to go through that program, you could virtually be a master technician stepping in as a new guy.
Okay, go over job placement with UTI. If you don't make it into those programs, if you don't make it in the Mercedes-Benz if you don't make it in BMW? Don't make it in GM.
I would equate it to like a Craigslist kind of a setup. They have job placement people, and they help you contact them. After you're out of the school, it's not that great. When you're in school, they do have opportunities like job fair kind of things. People that come in that offer opportunities that are good. I have friends that got into jobs with, say, a Crown Lift, different dealerships and manufacturers that did well. But afterwards, I went after Saturn closed down in 2008, and I was laid off. I went back to UTI to see about getting some kind of a placement or some kind of a job leads, and it was, like I said, just sort of like a Craigslist opportunity. You know, they have a job listings. If you see something that fits your skill set, your skill level, then good for you. If you don't, you're on your own. You know, they will help you, you know, rewrite your resume and do stuff like that. But, you know.
Now, were you in the housing they offered or no?
No, I lived on my own.
I've heard horror stories about that, the housing.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that was in the housing. I mean, when I was there, I think they were offering like to link you up with other guys that were there, and you know, it really depends on the person you get linked up with. Some guys are there just young kids wanting to party and get crazy, and some guys are serious and really want to work hard to do what they got to do.
Would you recommend it to people?
I would probably not for the price it is nowadays. I think that you can get the training and the knowledge and the ability by getting a hands-on job. Say, for instance, with Mazda, if I want to be a master Mazda technician, I just have to put in the time. I have to go through their classes, and I have to pass my ASEs. I think that's probably one of the most valuable things with UTI. If you are able to get your ASEs as you go through the school, they really aim towards that kind of a prep. So if you take an AC class, you go take your ASC for AC. You know, you take your engine diagnostic.
Because our viewers, the guys that are watching these videos, are interested in going in and becoming a mechanic or turning wrenches. If a kid out of high school is wanting to go, say, into a dealer, because you've worked at both, you've worked at independent shops, you've worked at dealerships. If somebody just wants to get fresh out of school going into a dealership, what do you think the best way that is to do? Do you become a mechanic's helper? Do you go talk to the service writer, say, hey, or the service manager, say, hey, I'm ready and willing, let me try doing oil changes, or, you know, what is the best approach to get in a dealership setting?
Realistically, without any experience, your luck to get into a dealership is going to be starting out as a lube tech or maybe even a lot porter. A lot of the dealerships aren't really looking for guys that don't know anything, you know. Even as a lube tech, there's a big liability in hiring a guy that don't know how to change oil. You leave a drain plug loose or a double gasket in an oil filter and you burn a motor, you know, that's thousands of dollars on the dealership.
Now, do you think it's the same way going into an independent garage?
I think an independent garage, there's a little bit more oversight. There's, you know, a lot more hands-on with the owners and the people there. With my experience, I think, you know, you got a guy that you're probably working next to. You may not be flat rate, and as a helper, you're probably going to be hourly anyways, make a minimum wage just to get the experience. So it just really depends on the environment you're put into. You know, there are independent shops that work just like the dealership, and there are dealerships that are very hands-on. It's just, you got to really do your research and talk to the managers, and if you can, talk to the technicians that you'll be working with. Try to get an insight on what the dealership offers, what the job offers, and make a wise decision. Don't just jump into a place, because it does look really bad on your resume to be jumping from job to job.
Difference between import and domestic dealerships?
In my experience, any larger size domestic dealership is going to be compartmentalized. Where I'm at right now, you know, we have a front end and brakes. We got 15A, which is electrical and interior electrical stuff, and AC. Then we got a trans guy. We got tune-up guys, and then we got heavy line, which is what I'm doing right now. You know, not my favorite, but you know, it's really limited on what you can learn and what you can do, as opposed to, you know, working with a Asian manufacturer. Most of them are bumper to bumper. You take a car in, you do everything that's wrong with it. You learn everything. I prefer that. I prefer to be able to get a ticket and say, okay, there are 5 different concerns here. I'm going to clean this ticket. I'm going to make all the money there is to be made on this car, and build a repertoire with the customer. You know, I can talk to the advisor, say, hey, I need to take a ride with this customer, take a ride with that customer, build a relationship, and then that customer can request me as their mechanic every time they come in. You know, I'm the technician working on their car, and I can be the only technician that worked on their car from the time they bought it to the time they don't own it anymore. Yeah. You know, and that makes a big difference. You know, when things are slow and good customers come in and say, I want Dennis to work on my car, that's guaranteed work, you know. And I'm not limited to do anything else on a car, you know. And in my experience, it seems also the Asian manufacturers, they don't do a lot of engine teardown, you know. You might do a head gasket or something, but for the most part, you find no compression on a motor. You find a problem with the valves or the pistons, you're going to be replacing the motor with a remanufactured motor from the dealership. Opposed to GM, you know, I've been tearing motors apart for the last 3 months. You know, I've been putting pistons in cars, heads on cars, and inevitably sometimes we do end up replacing motors. You know, if you have cylinder walls scored or something catastrophic, you will replace the motor, but you got to get there. You have to tear the heads off. You got to tear it apart. You got to check all these parts visually and using precision tools to.
So a GM mechanic, GM dealership, domestic dealerships will try to find the problem inside the engine, whereas say with a Mazda or a Toyota or a Honda, 9 times out of 10 they're just going to replace the motor.
Yeah. Same with the transmission. I mean, our transmission guy is tearing transmissions apart and rebuilding them all day long. At Mazda, I've had one transmission apart. It was a manual transmission that there was a bulletin on to repair. You know, so you're pulling gears, you're pulling.
You took it apart?
No, I didn't do it. I diagnosed the car, and another tech that had done the job multiple times did the work. But you know, watching that, you know, I'd much rather R&R a trans than tear apart and rebuild a trans. You know, a lot less risk. And when you're working flat rate, man, it's how many jobs can you get in and out, doing a good and efficient job, and you know, making the repair the first time.
Yeah.
You know, so
now touch on flat rate, flag rate compared to salary or hourly.
Well,
thoughts, concerns,
if you're
pros, cons.
If you're a motivated individual, you can make a lot of money working flat rate. You know, I've been
for everybody who doesn't know, he'll explain flat rate real quick.
Okay, flat rate is where I get a job and the job pays a book time. We'll just do brakes, for instance. Brakes pay 2 hours to R&R pads and resurface rotors, typically at any shop, aftermarket or dealership.
And who makes these books?
We go off of a Mitchell book or All Data book. Usually we just use All Data because that's the status quo for the industry mostly. Mitchell's or All Data, and the times are very, very similar, very close. It's just a given, you know, typically 2 hours for brake jobs if you're resurfacing rotors.
So you do a job for 2 hours, but you've done it so many times, you can bang it out in 5 minutes.
I could knock out brakes in about 30, 35 minutes, you know, depending on how long it takes me to turn the rotors.
So even though he's done it, the job pays 2 hours, he gets it done in 30 minutes, he still gets paid the 2 hours.
Yeah, and then you throw in a brake flush in that, and you know, anytime I do brakes, unless it's been done recently, I recommend a brake flush. You know, brake fluid breaks down over time by heat and
water.
Age, and if the cap's left off, it is a hydroscopic fluid. It soaks up water as the cap is open and it's not sealed. So, you know, we recommend those services whenever somebody does brakes. So that's an extra hour on your time, and it takes maybe 20 minutes to do a brake flush. But as far as my pay, I get paid 3 hours to do a typical brake job. It takes me max an hour, and that's.
Do you have multiple jobs going on at the same time?
Absolutely. I got to diagnose one job, take the ticket to the advisor, and then pick up the next ticket, pull the next car in, and I have as many cars going as I can fit in my area.
How many cars have you had going all at once? The most?
I've had up to 7 cars at one time, waiting on parts,
waiting on approval,
waiting on whatever. I typically have had 3 to 5 stalls at any given time, and all my stalls will be full if it's possible. If there are cars to be worked on, I'll fill up those stalls, and once those stalls are full, I'll park cars in the lot until I can get approval. That's how you make money.
It's all about that hustle, huh?
Yeah, where I was at Mazda, I was averaging 15 hours a day on a standard day, and maxing out at close to 30 hours a day some days. So, you can make a week's worth of work in a day and a half, and you're killing it. You're making over $100,000 a year easy. But that's
But that was that, ladies and gentlemen. That was after he's had experience. That wasn't him coming out of high school and not knowing what he's doing. This guy's an experienced mechanic. He's not walking in doing 30 hours a day just
absolutely.
The seat of his pants.
And I think that's a big deal with why the view on UTI students is so bad. I think UTI builds you up to think you're going to be coming out getting rich as a mechanic with no experience. I got a year's experience because I went to a year of trade school. Well, that's not fact. You have a year of knowledge built up if you can retain that knowledge, and you're not worth $20, $30 an hour flat rate. You're worth minimum wage until you earn your keep. You learn the trade and learn how to do it and show your worth.
You said the most important crucial thing to pass in UTI is diagnostic and electrical, correct?
I think so. If I was a shop owner and I was looking at a resume for a student out of UTI, if I looked at their electrical classes and I looked at their diagnostic classes and they weren't perfect scores, I would reconsider. I definitely look at that person and see what their aptitude is for electrical. If you can't do a basic voltage drop, if you don't know what that is, look it up. If you can't check
just Google it, guys.
You can't check resistance on a circuit,
Ohm's
you can't
law.
read a schematic, then honestly, nowadays with the way that cars are, I'm not going to hire you.
Yeah.
I need somebody that I can say, hey, go pull this schematic, and you know what to do. Know your systems. Know how to use all data in Mitchell. And know if you're going into a manufacturer, learn the systems as fast as you can. Because I worked with guys that have been in a dealership for 8 years and not knowing how to pull up a schematic and read a bulletin. That's if it was my shop, I'd be getting rid of those guys, or they wouldn't be making more than minimum wage. So
touch on hourly real quick.
Hourly, it is what it is. It's exactly what it says. You agree to a wage, and that's what you get paid. You're there for 8 hours, you get paid 8 hours.
Your lot porters, probably your lube techs, right?
Lube techs, yeah.
Lube techs, lot porters. Anybody in parts guys are typically hourly.
Yeah.
But they get a spiff off of the parts they sell.
Yeah, and at an independent shop, a lot of shops nowadays have gone to hourly because of state regulations and minimum wage laws. It's hard for a shop to make money, I guess. I don't understand how, but that's what I've heard. So an hourly rate, a lot of hourly shops will do a flat rate bonus. If you're flagging so many hours, then you get a bonus accordingly, and that can be good, but really it depends on the volume of the shop. So you got to go from there. You got to look at what kind of volume. Always, if you're interviewing, ask the manager if you can see the shop hours. Look at the shop hours for the last 3 months. See what guys are actually flagging, because shop managers, supervisors, guys that are hiring, they just need guys in there. It's hard to find a good tech these days, so they'll tell you whatever they need to tell you to get into a place. Once your toolbox is there, it's a lot harder to push out than if it's in your truck.
What do you mean they'll tell you anything they want to tell you to get in there? They'll lie to you?
Yeah. It's the automotive industry, guys. If you're not ready to be lied to, get out of it.
They're gonna lie to you.
There's a lot of BS going around, man. And
a lot of politics in dealerships too. I've been there. I was at a GM dealership. A lot of politics.
You gotta have really thick skin, man. You gotta have really thick skin. You gotta be able to let stuff slide off your back and not hold grudges, because you gotta work with these advisors, these service managers, and the other techs, man. It's dog eat dog out there. If you can't handle it, if you got thin skin, this ain't the trade for you.
Yeah. Not gonna go home and sit in a corner and suck your thumb and rock back and forth.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody's gonna pet your head in the corner, you know? You're gonna.
Are you okay, Dennis? Are you okay? Do you want to?
Actually, they
want a bottle?
They prefer you to be curled up in a ball in the corner. That way, they can make the hours that you should have.
Oh, the other guys will just run you down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, at a dealership, I mean, all the guys are flagging. They're all, flat rating it. If they can, put somebody under the, throw somebody under the bus or not steal that work, but they see you as competition, even though you're the guy next door in the bays. You guys are civil to each other. If you guys are both drivability techs or both heavy line techs, there's animosity when they get that gravy job that came in and the other guy's stuck doing, warranty stuff.
Yeah, and I've always lived my life by the golden rule, do unto others as you like others to do unto you, So if a guy's having trouble, I always try to go over and offer help, but the majority of guys out there aren't like that. If you find a shop where the guys in the shop are all like that and they're all working together and all helping out, man, then you found a good thing.
Would you recommend becoming a mechanic?
I think the job's for a select few. I know a lot of guys that have put a lot of money into it and bailed. Tools aren't cheap. Education isn't cheap. And to put all that money in up front and then find out that that's not what you want to do, I think test the waters. If you want to be a tech, find a place you can, intern at or, apprentice at,
like Sears?
Try it for a year. Anywhere. I wouldn't recommend like a lube place, like a Jiffy Lube or something. It's not a realistic mechanic position. Try to get into a dealership. Even getting into a dealership as a lube tech or a lot porter that can be exposed to the environment, see what it's like, see if you can handle it, see if it's something you want to be in. If I had it to do over again, I wouldn't be a mechanic.
You wouldn't be a mechanic?
No. No, I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
But you know what? It's provided for my family. It still provides for my family, and I'm pretty good at it. Not trying to boast or anything, but I can make good money doing it, so I do it.
All right, now we're going to run through a series of questions and get some answers from a true professional mechanic right here, Dennis. Tool trucks, Snap-on, Mac, Matco, Cornwell. Are they necessary? Do you need them? Then my next question is, what kind of tools do you use, or does it really matter? Because one of my one of the things we do on Bundys Garage, obviously we do tool reviews, and I've watched other videos out there on YouTube, and some guys will rag on somebody else if they buy a tool from Harbor Freight, right? Even though it might work and even though it's cheap, they say if it's not Snap-on, it's ish kind of thing. This is what I believe, and you can agree with me or not agree with me. I think you buy the tool that is used for the job. If you need a tool from Harbor Freight because it works and it gets the job done as quickly as you can, buy that tool. It doesn't have to be from Snap-on. It doesn't need to be Cornwell. It doesn't need to say that name brand. Like we were doing a power steering pulley the other day, right on that Tahoe, and we were trying to install it back on the pulley, and it wasn't working for Dennis, and he brought it from the shop, right?
I brought it, yeah. It was
so we were talking.
My tool, yeah.
Yeah, and it was messed up, and I'm like, dude, how much time has this tool cost you when you're at the job actually doing the work? So, what are your thoughts on all that All that
Yeah.
razzmatazz. Oh, you don't have Snap-on, dude. You're not a real mechanic.
You know, my viewpoint is, you know what, that there is quality in high-end tools and expensive tools that, you know, we were talking about it the other day, John. You know, the fit and finish on a Snap-on wrench is parts of none. You know, they beat out everybody, especially with their wrenches. But you know, their cost beats out everybody too. For me personally, when I came in, started full-time flat rate. When I started as a lube tech, I bought a nice big Craftsman socket set. Came with all three 1/4 inch, 3/8 and 1/2 inch ratchets. Came with deep and shallow sockets.
Metric
all the
standard?
sockets, yeah, metric and standard. You know, it was a couple hundred, I think it was $200. Got like a Black Friday deal or something. And it came with a little carrying case. That's what I used as a lube tech. Then once I graduated school and I got the position that I got at the dealership, I knew I was gonna need more tools. I knew that there was gonna be more specialty stuff I needed, more stuff to be able to get the job done. I went online, man. I found a good tool website.
What's it called?
At that time it was a toolwarehouse.net, I think it is. I've been using a website called Tooltopia. You know what, they sell SK tools, they sell KD tools, they sell Leslie, specialty tools, all gear wrench stuff you can get for a huge discount. You go on the Snap-on, Matco, Cornwall trucks, they all sell gear wrench at a huge inflation. I mean, 150 to 200% off of what you could get it on this website.
Yeah, because it's the convenience of them coming into your dealership, and
you know what?
They're driving a truck around, and they got to make money.
Yeah, you know what? I started out. I put up $500, bought $500 worth of tools on this website. They were shipped to my door for free, and I filled my toolbox. And I've been using those tools ever since. And you know what? When the need comes, the tool truck is there, and there's a tool that I need that will make my job easier. Absolutely, I'll jump at it. You know, but
half inch breaker bar.
1/2 inch breaker bar. It's a piece
Harbor
of steel.
Freight.
It's a piece of steel, man.
Snap-on.
You know, I'll be 100% honest. I don't recommend Harbor Freight tools. I've broken too many of them. But you know, you can get the same tool at Sears. You can get it at Lowe's or Home Depot. You know.
Yeah. I bought a lot of tools from Lowe's.
But you know, something that you're going to be putting a lot of pressure on, I would recommend getting something quality. You know, I have a Craftsman 1/2 inch breaker bar, and you know what? I've used that sucker. I've put extension pipes on it. I've never broken it. I've had it for 13 years. You know, that sucker does the job. So
if he does break it, he can replace it for free.
Yeah, so you know, that's the convenience of having a tool truck. That guy's coming to your shop once a week mostly. So you know, if I break one of my Snap-on tools, then I know the guy's going to be there on Tuesday, and I can change it out.
Have you ever been denied a warranty on Snap-on?
I know, but I've heard of guys being denied if they don't spend money on the truck or whatever. The guy will be a jerk, and I've ran into quite a few that are cool too. Don't get me wrong. I usually pick the truck with the guy that's easy to work with, the guy that's friendly, the guy that's gonna warranty my stuff. First thing, if I go into a dealership and I start meeting all the tool guys, the tool guy that comes to me and says, "Hey, you got anything you need warranted?" and I've never been there, I've never bought anything from him, he's warranting my stuff without a question, that's the guy I'm probably gonna work with, you know?
He's already that much higher than the other guys when he just comes in and says that. Huh?
So, you know, our Snap-on guy right now is a great guy. You know, I have a set of 1/4 inch wobble sockets that are extensions that got loose, they got worn, and they wouldn't hold a socket. And I took them to him. He warrantied them out. I haven't bought a thing from him yet, you know, and he actually upgraded my extension set to a better set. So, you know, it just depends on the guy, but realistically, especially if you're just starting out, man, don't go spend 15 grand on tools, you know? Spend a few $100s, get what you need, make sure that that's a job for you. I've seen too many kids come in, get into major debt, and aren't able to make the money, and don't even like being mechanics, you know? So what good's a $15,000 set of tools do you when you quit being a mechanic and you can't sell them for $5,000? Craigslist. Yeah, that's a gold mine for those guys looking to get into tools. You know, you find a guy that's done, he's over it, and he just wants to sell his whole box. You know, look through it, make sure it's worth what you'd be paying. But you know, if you're gonna spend a lot of money and you got cash, that's a way to get into a good set of tools for cheap.
Craigslist. I bought tools off Craigslist.
Yeah, eBay, Craigslist. I snap on ratchets from eBay for pennies on the dollar. You know, just the right deal at the right time. So
Pre-lube oil filters.
Yeah, it's not necessary.
What about that dry start condition?
Most cars is such a nominal amount of oil in the filter. On a diesel truck, you know, where the oil filter, you know, international, where the oil filter's 9 inches deep, you know, you're definitely gonna put a quart of oil in that sucker. But for the most part, the oil pump up pretty quick. You're not going to get much of a dry start situation. There's already oil in the motor. You can't get it all out when you pull the plug, you know. Yeah. So for me personally, that's my opinion. You know, I know a lot of guys are super stickler on it, and you know, always fill the filter. You know how much of a pain in the butt it is to put a sideways filter on full of oil. You're going to make a mess, and you know what? The customer is going to come back and say, "Hey, why is there oil dripping out of my car? I just got the oil change. It's leaking." You know, unless you got a magical wand to clean up all that residual oil, you know, you're better off making as little mess as you can in a customer's car, keeping them happy. You know, a filter that's this big is, you know, it's going to fill up with oil.
The Mazda, the Honda tote filters, Mazda, Honda oil filters.
You know, and I've never pre-filled my oil filters on my car. I've never had a problem. I've worked as a lube tech. When I first got into school at Mazda, I never pre-filled oil filters, never had a motor launch on me because I didn't pre-fill the oil filter. You know, it is what it is.
So it's up to you guys if you want to do it, if you don't want to do it. Pre-fill, not pre-fill. You know, one half of the other, whatever they say. The tool you use every day.
Impact guns. Your
electric, pneumatic.
I prefer air. It doesn't die on you, you know, unless your compressor goes out in the shop. Air is reliable. I've had my hand impact, my cordless. I have a Makita that's like a 12 volt, and that sucker does good for my 1/4 inch stuff. But you know, the batteries die, and I'm in the middle of a job, stuck under a dash, and I gotta find a battery. That sucks, man. I gotta stop what I'm doing, you know. So they're definitely beneficial for those tight spaces where you don't want to drag a hose through a customer's car or whatever. But you know, my 3/8 and 1/2 inch impact gun, those are used nonstop. I definitely recommend a good 1/4 inch air ratchet. Something that you can get into tight spaces. I use that sucker as often as I can. And you know, my 1/4 inch set goes from 4.5 or 4 to 15, you know, so anything I can fit my 1/4 inch on, I do. I've broken the head off of it quite a few times and rebuilt it, you know, nonstop.
What kind do you have?
Mine is actually a Cornwell. It's built by Ingersoll.
Ram. I have an Ingersoll Ram. I love that little thing.
Yeah, and when I was in Washington, I broke the head off of it. There wasn't a Cornwell guy in sight. My Matco guy was able to order me the Ingersoll head, and I replaced it from Matco, you know, $35 opposed to whatever they want to charge you for a 1/4 inch air ratchet.
Yeah.
You know, air ratchets are a good thing to have. 1/4 inch and 3/8. No real need for anything bigger unless you're working on beasts.
Unless you're a diesel mechanic.
I prefer not to work on big trucks. Not my fave, but.
I know there's been a big push, probably you guys seen it too out there. Guys going to electric, you know, cordless impacts. Your 1/4 inch, your 3/8, 1/2 inch, but you know, every shop I've ever seen them into, 3/8. They've seen guys with 3/8.
Yeah.
Cordless ratchets.
Yeah, they're not bad. They're just they're costly, man. And if
they're really pricey.
Yeah, so I haven't made that jump, man. I just I don't feel the need to, but do as you will, man. It's your bill, not mine.
Side job's gone sideways.
Well, I don't do side jobs, man. I work hard enough during the day, during my work week. I don't want to get off and work anymore. I know it's a necessity for a lot of guys out there, not able to make enough money during the week, and they really need to make ends meet. You know, I would recommend not doing any major jobs that you're going to have a car down for multiple days. It's tough on you. You got a lot of expectation from that person you're doing the job for. You know, if something goes wrong, they're having you do the job because they can't afford to have a shop do it. And then for you to tell them that they need to put more money into something that broke or something that went wrong, you know, that's a tough position to be in. I'd rather not.
Okay.
You know, I've done the last job I did that went sort of south. It wasn't really horrible, but I did brakes for a friend, and front and rear brakes, pads and rotors should have been a slam dunk. You know, they gave me, you know, like $200 to do it, and they bought the parts, you know, which was great for me. And put the pads on, put the rotors on, drove that sucker down the road, and it squeaked.
It's a Toyota, huh?
And no, it was a Saturn, a Saturn View, and man, I drove that sucker. I tried to burn the pads up a little bit, get them hot, get them burnished to the rotors, and still no go. I went and warrantied the parts at the shop that or at the parts place I got them from, and did it again, and same problem, man. And you know what? After that, I just decided, you know what? It's not worth the stress. I'd rather not. I'd rather not do all this side work, especially, you know, I make pretty good money at the shop. Yeah. But then again, you know, there are those guys out there that love working on cars, and if that's what you want to do on your spare time, and you can make a buck,
go for it.
You know, do it at your own risk.
Couple last questions here. We'll wind this up real quick. Toolbox, doesn't matter. Snap-on, Cornwell. I know it kind of goes back to the whole tool thing, but you know,
so,
what kind of toolbox do you use? What do you recommend?
So, you know what? I bought my first toolbox at Costco. Yeah, the stainless steel double
I've seen those.
toolbox.
Yeah. Was it like $800 for both?
It's like $750 or something. And I bought that sucker, and I still use it today. It's got ball bearing slides, and
nice.
You know, the only downside to it is the detent sort of gave out after like 6 years, and so, you know, the drawers sometimes pop open on me. But other than that, the box holds weight. It's a good box. You know, it's not the most beautiful box, but you know, it holds my tools. I've looked into buying a box on the tool trucks, and the smallest box that I would buy from a tool truck is, I'm looking at, you know, $3,000 to $5,000. You know, guys, I've looked out there online, and there are some really good quality non-snap-on, non-Matco toolboxes. You can get into a huge box, 72-inch box for under $3,000. You know, delivered to wherever you are, wherever you want it. You know, deliver it to your shop, to your home, whatever you want, man. If you're gonna do that, you're gonna go into debt on a tool truck for a minimum of $3,000 to $5,000. Take out a credit card, go online, buy a box online, unless you're really into the name brand, man. And that's all it is. It's a badge you slap on your toolbox. If that's a big deal to you, you can buy a Snap-on label for $35 from the Snap-on guy. Put it on your aftermarket box. You know, I've seen guys do that.
I saw one guy buy a Harbor Freight box on YouTube. If I can find it, I'll put a link in the description below. But he went and bought the Snap-on emblem, peeled the Harbor Freight emblem off, and just slapped that Snap-on on there. Yeah,
man, and you know what? I'm not a big fan of Harbor Freight. I don't really care for their boxes, but you know, their carts are cheap. And for what you're using a cart for, you're gonna beat the crap out of it anyways. You know, you can get into a small push around cart from Harbor Freight for $100, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of Harbor Freight, but I have a Harbor Freight cart, and I use that sucker every day.
I've also seen guys use the plastic like Rubbermaid carts.
Yeah, you know, and those can be expensive too, you know, but I mean, a couple $100, but they're not bad, you know. I have a cart from Harbor Freight. I'm actually looking into getting another one just to put parts on when I got something torn down, you know. So it's a cheap way to do it, you know, opposed to going to a tool truck. I mean, the cheapest cart that I've seen from any of the tool trucks is starting at $350. You know,
The cart?
Yeah, that's a cheap one. That's a small one.
Yeah.
So
you can spend a lot of money on these tools, guys.
Yeah.
And my philosophy, and I think Dennis is the same, if you guys are getting into this, if you can pay cash for it, pay cash. Don't go into debt for this. You guys don't want to go into debt for this.
Yeah, no doubt. My motto is, if I can't pay something off in a month or two, I don't get it, you know.
Okay.
And with the tool trucks, you know, there are tools that I have to buy from them, and if I buy something from the tool guy, I try to put a fat chunk down and pay it off, you know, within the first couple of weeks. Think about it. You're paying a tool truck a minimum of $20 a week. That's $80 a month. You get a credit card and you put it on a credit card and you pay $100 a month. You're paying it off faster than you would the tool guy. You know, I don't know. I'm not a.
And then you got to look at interest rates.
Not a big fan of owing anybody. So I prefer to, if I'm gonna take out something from the tool truck, I prefer to pay it off within a month or two.
Okay. We're gonna wind this up real quick. Dennis is, and always will be, a Mazda tech. I just want him to touch on direct injection and the carbon buildup he has seen on valves with the Mazdas. Is this pertaining to the Mazda 3s? Mazda.
Actually, all the new SkyActiv motors, they do tend to have that problem. Oil tends to sludge.
What is SkyActiv?
SkyActiv is a Miller cycle motor. They use a scavenging effect to get the EGR type effect to bring down NOx and emissions in the vehicle. So, you know, the valves, it is direct injection, so the injector goes directly into the cylinder. It doesn't shoot fuel on the backside of the valves, which has become a problem. I've seen multiple motors apart.
2.0s, 2.5s?
Yeah, both.
2.5 turbo?
Yeah, the 2.5 turbo is pretty new. I haven't seen any of those apart yet. And I'm not at Mazda anymore, so I probably won't. Okay. But the 2.0s, 2.5s, that's the standard motor in any of your Mazda 3s, 5s, or CX5s, Mazda 6. Those, and the CX3 is a smaller motor, but yeah, those guys, they tend to get sludge buildup on the back of the valves. There is a bulletin to decarbon them. You know, you crank the motor around where the valves are closed and you let a chemical sit on the backside of the valves. You got to pop the intake off. It's a pain in the butt, but you know, you can prevent that by using a top engine cleaner. You know,
like a Berryman's.
Well, I don't know all the different cleaners out there, but we run a
Mazda top end, the top engine cleaner.
It's a granitized top end cleaner. So, you know, you just run it into the vacuum port on your intake and just run the car, idle the car for 15 minutes and turn it off, let it sit 15 minutes, and then drive the car. You drive it pretty hard, blow out all that soot and everything. It helps.
Would there be a way to do it preventively, like every other oil change?
I would say probably every 10,000 miles. I've seen motors as new as like 15,000 miles.
And you can pick this up from Mazda?
No, you probably wouldn't get it from Mazda.
Would you call it a granulized top end?
Granitized is just the company that we get our stuff from. But I would recommend having it done. I wouldn't recommend you doing it yourself. It's not a maybe we'll do a video on it. Show you.
Yeah, you want to do a video on it?
Yeah, maybe we can.
We need to find a car.
I have a Mazda 3, so we can probably use it.
You think there's carbon in that thing?
I have 34,000 miles on it. So
we could just show them how to do it.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy procedure, but I wouldn't recommend trying to do it yourself unless you know what you're doing. You know, you can pull the.
Well, most of the guys that are watching this they're DIYers. They want to be able to do it themselves. Save yourself some money. I hate it. I loathe having to pay somebody to work on my vehicles. I absolutely hate it. I don't know, for whatever reason it was instilled in me as a kid. I don't know, maybe it fell out of my crib or something, but it bugs the crap out of me, dude, to have to pay somebody to do work for my car. Because I always feel like they didn't do it right, and I know there's stuff I can't do, but back in my mind I'm always like, they didn't do it right, or they're screwing me somehow, dude. I don't know. That's what I always think. Yeah, that's why it's important to find a tech you trust. You know, somebody that you know is going to shoot straight with you. And once you find that guy, you know, trust him. You know,
you got it. Your car is in his hands or her hands, whatever.
Have you ever met a girl mechanic?
I have. Never worked with one though. You know.
I've only met one. I've met a girl welder and one girl mechanic. And going to Dennis is an active mechanic. He's like a doctor, dude. You go to a doctor for your body. You take your car to a mechanic for the health of your vehicle. Tell him everything that's going on with the car. Don't hide stuff from them. I've seen it lots of times where people will hide things from them. Like, for whatever reason, they're scared to tell the mechanic, oh, I did this, or I tried that, or my cousin looked at it and did that, or whatever. Just tell him everything, because the more he knows, the quicker he's going to be able to diagnose your car, the quicker he's going to be able to get it back to you, and the less money it's going to cost you in the end.
Yeah, you know what, and always remember, you know, your technician he's a person, man. I mean, we don't always know exactly what's wrong with your car. We're not psychic, you know. Just like your doctor's not going to be able to, you know, look inside of you for every little thing. You know, we can't tear your car down and see visually every little problem. A lot of this stuff is electrical. A lot of it is hard to visually see. You know, give the guys a break sometimes. You know, now we're not perfect. Sometimes we do make mistakes, and some of us own it. You know. I know some of the guys like to blow it off, but you got to be realistic. You know, you take your car to a shop, and you know, you got to give us time, give us patience, and trust that we're doing the best we can to fix your car.
Yeah. Guys, thanks for joining us today. I know this has been a long video. We're coming up on 1 hour, and Dennis has got to get out of here. Keep an eye out. Soon he's going to launch a channel as well pretty soon, and as soon as he does, I'll bring him back on here. We'll do a shout out to him, and either bring him back or I'll do it myself. But Dennis is a great guy. He's been my friend for a long time. We've probably known each other 12 years now, if not longer. And he's come over, help me with stuff in my garage, and we'll probably do a video on his Mazda as well for this for the carbon on the backside of the valves. But is there any parting words you want to tell our viewers at Bundys Garage? Anything at all?
No, got nothing.
Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate it. Appreciate your time. Questions, comments, concerns, you can always reach out to me at bundysgarage@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at BundysGarage. You can also follow me on Facebook. I wish I had made it to SEMA, but I didn't this year. Guys, take care. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you can, and keep your eye out for more videos.